Yes, Metal Summoners, the Metal Summit. Thank you so much for rocking out as always with us. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to your Island of Misfit Toys. As always, kicking off your weekend right now in the middle of the week, humping it up with all of our good friends and maybe some friends that we're gonna meet and become a little bit more acquainted with. But as always, Metal Summoners, we really appreciate you guys rocking out with us, because by supporting the show, by supporting what me and Angel and Steve do, you're showing even more support to the guests that we get to talk to. And we're going to get right into that right now. We're bringing back one of our friends. We're bringing back our buddy. We got the Bulldog. We've got Josh Pineo with us. We have brought back Dead Man's Trigger. And Josh, first and foremost, man, welcome back to the Metal Summit. It's an absolute pleasure. And of course, congratulations are in order for Seven Rivers of Blood, man. It sounds awesome, just like we were talking about off the air.
No, thanks for having me on again. It's been a little while. We've been busy, as you can tell. We're hoping to drop a few more singles over the next 6 months, so keep your eyes and ears out for that. But yeah, we get our last show of the year this coming Friday up in Manchester, New Hampshire, at Jewel with Death Rattle and Devil Inside Us. So that's going to be a pretty killer bill. Probably our heaviest show so far this year, as far as bands go. But we love playing up at the Jewel, and they get a really good sound engineer, and the stage is well lit. You know, it's got a very pro feel, so it doesn't feel like you're playing some hole in the wall anymore. So that's a refreshing thing for those of us that give a shit about that.
Absolutely, man, for sure. And you and I were talking a little bit off the air as well, but especially since it's getting into like the holiday season, I can imagine like certain like steps or breaks are probably taken just in general when it comes to what you do off the stage, you know, with Speed Demon Promotions. Do you take breaks for the holiday season, or do you have anything else that you kind of are planning in this time after this show?
I mean, for anybody that's interested, I am going to be doing some recording for other bands. You can hit me up online, ask me about pricing and stuff like that. Can always use the extra money. Lord knows I don't make enough, but we're plugging away, and Speed Demon's got a lot planned for next year. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, and hopefully announcing at least our uh, March show by the end of this month.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to that. And, as far as Dead Man's Trigger goes, we're taking a little bit of time off to finish up getting some more recordings done and get more music out to the people, because that's what it's about. So, yeah, we've got a lot up our sleeve, and hopefully come spring, start to hit the road and get out of New England for a little while.
Nice.
So that's fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely, for sure. And when it comes to the music that you're working on, in this downtime around the holiday season, are you looking to keep singles coming out as like kind of a main possibility, or are you flirting with the idea of something of more of an overall package, like an EP or even a full length?
I mean, initially we wanted to do an EP, but for various reasons and scheduling and whatnot, wasn't quite lining up timing wise to get everything done before the end of the year. So we decided to kind of call an audible, and we've noticed a lot of bands in our business, just drop single here and there, and then maybe a year later do a full record. So I think you'll definitely notice a bit of, I guess, evolving in our sound. Obviously, the production is better because we have the equipment and a little bit more under my wing. But yeah, man, like we're just hoping to pound the pavement and do as much as we can. And I think, at least for me, I can't speak for the rest of the gang, but I'm hoping we jump on some national bills a little bit more frequently next year. We've kind of New England is kind of limited as far as like real top notch presentation venues for smaller bands.
Mhm.
So we're kind of figuring out, okay, this is a place worth our time. This is kind of a hole in the wall, because it's a lot of work, as you know,
Yeah.
to put everything together, especially if you don't have major funding from another label behind you. And we love Curtain Call and all that, but right now they're doing all they can to get things going on their end too. So
Mhm.
the money's just not there.
Yeah.
But we're doing everything we can in the meantime on a budget, and for doing everything ourselves, mixing, mastering, production, the whole nine. That's all me. That's all Speed Demon. Uh, so if you guys like what you hear, hit me up, and I'd love to work with other bands too.
Absolutely, for sure. And of course, not only with with knowing you, Josh, and having you on the show a couple of times, but Angel and I have worked extensively with Curtain Call. And the one thing that I can also definitely say about Curtain Call is they're one of those rare labels that genuinely do care about every artist on their label. The one thing though that I can say that does at times kind of piggybacking off of what you say that can be a little bit of a detriment is when you have such an eclectic roster as well as a roster like they do that also has some size to it. It does make it a little bit tricky in that funding situation as well too,
Yeah,
because you got to make sure that you're giving other bands on the label just as much love and attention as you're giving Dead Man's Trigger and this band and that band, so it definitely makes the whole funding capital thing a little bit trickier, where it's like it's one thing if you have like a major heavy hitter on your label like a Ted Nugent or like
right.
or like you know a Vince Neil or something like that. It's one thing if it was something like that where you kind of know that there's a chunk of the capital that's just going to have to be to this person. But Curtain Call is very, very good at really spreading the wealth and giving so much love and attention to their whole roster. But again, just like you said, that does make it very difficult for when it comes to, man, I really wouldn't hate a few extra of these pennies to be coming my way to kind of lighten the load.
Yeah, and for us, it's more of covering costs. Like we're not trying to get out there and make millions of dollars, not expecting unreasonable things.
Sure.
But we're all. I mean, just to give you a little insight, like on the books, I'm on disability, but my wife runs a lot of the back office stuff so that we can operate the way we do. Um, so, on paper, all of our income is, we all work full time jobs and do what we can to hustle, but
Mhm.
we're just regular people trying to make a living and trying to do what we love. But, I think my ultimate goal is to get on something that, you know, we can have that funding and support on that level. Because honestly, not to toot my own horn, but like, I feel like with the right amount of exposure and the right amount of eyeballs on what we're doing,
Mhm.
and obviously, what I'm doing specifically, like I think it could be a game changer. And it's just a matter of opportunity and financing to level out. Because right now, other than gas and putting miles on our vehicles, like that's all we can really swing.
For sure. No, absolutely. 100%, brother. Angel,
Yep.
my good man, let's kick it over to you.
Man, I just want to say thank you so much for your time this evening. It's always good having you back. Inspiration. Just want you to know that. It's like we're all fighting stuff and everything. So with me with Crohn's disease,
Mm.
I kind of look at what you're doing. I'm like, how the fuck can I complain when Josh goes through hell every day, probably? So just want you to know what a motivation and inspiration you are to me. Ever since
I appreciate that, brother. I totally get, any kind of chronic disease, or especially things that people may not see right off the bat. It's tough out there, especially when you're dealing with limitations and, you know, especially in your case, like I can tough it out and suck it up and deal with the pain and shit like that because things happen. But like, I can't exactly run off stage if I'm about to shit. Like seriously, I don't blame you there at all, man. It sucks.
Yeah, but just, I mean, like I said, you are an inspiration to a lot of people, and you may not, know it or even see it, but you really are, brother, and it's really good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad to be here, and ultimately, I say this all the time. My purpose of doing what I do, specifically in the world of heavy metal and rock and roll, is to basically, show people that no matter what kind of limit you might think you have on it, if it's in you, it's in you, and you can make it happen.
Right.
'Cause metal is a mindset more than anything. People forget that.
Uh,
But I mean, I'm very fortunate to have done the things I've done in my career so far. And right now, I'm not getting any younger, so I'm just going balls to the wall and do as much as I possibly can for as long as I can, and make every second count.
yeah, we
Oh,
do think, that, you know, like I say, getting older, that's something that just like hits you that, hey, you're not getting any younger, just fucking go for it.
Yeah. If you want something bad enough, you can do it. Doesn't matter if your legs work, break, whatever.
Hmm.
Put your mind to it. Absolutely, DK. I feel you with that. Fuck yeah, man.
Absolutely. DK, love you, brother. Thank you for always the support.
There we go. So yeah, I mean, we're doing what we're doing, and we're trying to knock as many doors down as we can, and you know, I'm ready to see the world. So guess I just gotta wait for the world to be ready for us.
Oh, trust
Absolutely.
it is. It definitely needs something. So it's coming now to,
You cut out there, brother.
sorry. When it comes now to music, you're gonna put out a couple more singles for 2026.
Yeah.
Um, when you're putting out the music, like when you know that the song is done.
Well, I mean, I think you know my whole thing with recording in general is I try not to do anything that I can't replicate live. Um, because backing track shit and samples can be a pain in the butt.
Mhm.
And, we're only a four piece and we have only two or three roadies that ride with us. So, we just don't have the staff to be able to do all the extra shit. Obviously, eventually, if we had the support to do that, then, absolutely. But I think as far as this deciding when the song is done, um, I think I've always got a critical ear, but I don't like to overproduce either. And I hear a lot of that in metal right now. There's a lot of, you know, super amount of editing and shit like that and samples, and it makes for a great song, but it doesn't translate the same way it needs to in a live setting. So that's always been kind of my cardinal rule as far as production goes. But uh, try to get the best of what we write and play it as tightly as possible without, beating our head against the wall. And when you can finally sit back and instead of worrying about oh, I fucked up there, or I missed a part there, or whatever. When you can sit back and just get into the song, that's when it's done. I think, personally.
No,
As far as structure and all that, I mean, obviously mixing takes a little while, and I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but it definitely it's a trial and error thing as you go. And you have to bounce it off of other people and get different sets of ears that might not be picking up things. So it's a process, but we started writing this tune last year, and obviously with the lineup change, that kind of slowed things down as well. Uh, so yeah, things are just kind of taking it one step at a time, trying not to rush it, but also trying to give ourselves enough of a deadline to keep things productive and consistent for you people out there. Because we do it for ourselves, number one, but at the end of the day, if people don't like it, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
So, but so far, we haven't really gotten much in the way of negative reviews. So I hope you guys will be checking it out for sure.
no, that's always a good thing. Because I mean, you put out great music, so and again, you're not going to please everybody. You're always going to have one or two keyboard warriors that just want to be like, "Hey, it'll be cool if I post this comment." But, that's social media.
And for the most part, like I'm not easily offended. So like some of the comments we've gotten on like TikTok and shit, um, I'm dying along with the rest of you. Like somebody called me Nickelback the other day, and I thought it was hilarious.
My God.
I would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Like I get the joke, but like Daryl and Zach are probably my number two and number one fucking influences on this planet. So I think, I'll take it.
Yes, compliment. Because you know what? Just don't call us Maroon 5, please.
Yeah, right? Right?
Overproduce.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Oh,
No, I'm loving what we're doing, and the rest of the band's going through a lot of personal stuff. Our drummer and bass player are building a house, so they're trying to wrap all that up before winter gets too crazy. So working around that and the holiday BS and all that. But yeah, once that ball drops in 2026, man, look out.
How about when it comes to music videos?
I mean, so far I only can say that I've done lyric videos. I don't have very much in the way of camera equipment, but I know enough videographers that obviously when it's in the budget, we can do it. But I try to DIY as much as I can for as long as I can. Um, the least amount of overhead possible always benefits in the long run. So without cheaping out, like I'm not going to put something out if I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and on the lyric video we just did, I worked on that for probably 2 weeks, something like that, just to kind of, because it was a big deal. It was brand new shit, so I wanted to put the extra effort behind it. And yeah, my wife was making me laugh. She goes, you start working on that thing and you're gone for like 10 hours at a time. I'm like, I don't have the money to pay people to do it for me, so here we go.
You actually got, well, not to talk about the weather, but you got like a lot of snow up there. So when you're
Yeah,
kind of having that over your head during the winter months, does that ever
quite
affect?
literally for me. I mean, anything above 7 inches is like, Got to make sure I'm above sea level.
I can relate to that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I
Dave?
mean, the winter's crazy, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, because I know a couple days ago, like upstate got hit with snow, and
Yeah.
I'm like, ever play into your mind of, oh, we're booking the show for January, but what if it snows and all
Well,
that?
that's doing this as long as I have. For people that don't know, I started playing gigs locally and with nationals all the way back in 2010. So I've been at this a while now, and I tell you what, trying to gig in the winter if you're not out of New England is a pain in the dick. And especially if you're in my situation, I get arthritis and stuff like that when it rains, and snow's not a whole lot different than that. So, once bad weather starts hitting me, I'm like, twice as hard and take twice as many edibles to get through the day. So, I don't have enough lung to smoke on the regular, but I took a page out of Daryl's book, and I tell you what, it got me off the narcotics, brother. So I'll take it.
Yeah, Jay, I'm kicking right back up to you, brother.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes to the shows that you like Dead Man's Trigger to play and that you feel are very stylistically like the proper shows for you guys, how do you look at the shows that like you want to play versus the shows that you think are like proper to play? Because Josh, like when you were talking about, wanting to get things up and out and understanding as well as feeling passionately about what you know that the band has to offer, how do you look at the shows that you play as well as the shows that you consider? Because especially with it being a business, those are decisions that kind of need to be made.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think, I can only speak for myself, but for the most part, since I do a majority of the booking, you know, obviously the venue has to be somewhat handicap accessible to start off. You know, I prefer to play with bands that have a little bit more reputation since we're fairly new. Anybody else would do the same thing. But the local scene here, we've kind of had a pretty good mix of, you know, I'd say maybe a dozen or 2 dozen bands rotate and play with each other and not and do separate shows and shit like that. So the community is building back up as far as the local metal scene, uh, specifically in Mass, but all over New England. We're all kind of in each other's contact list no matter what. Like, even if we're not playing together all the time, like bouncing things off each other production wise, sharing mixes and things like that. So it's been a nice to see the growth compared to where it was a few decades ago.
Yeah.
Uh, it's I don't think it's quite at its peak again yet, but I think locally it's headed back to that. So I think the underground is holding it.
For sure. No, I definitely get it with that. And taking it off of Dead Man's Sugar for just a second, but keeping it still with yourself personally, talk a little bit also about like your podcast and like, the stuff that like you like to discuss as well as like the guests that you like to have on.
I mean, for the most part, like I like anybody with a good story. Um, I'm a passionate wrestling fan, have been for decades and decades, probably since I could talk. Um, so that was my first love before I started playing music. So my fallback career when I retire from gigging, it's going to be getting into the independent scene, hopefully doing some commentating or managing or something like that. And I try to go to shows as often as I can to support the local feds. So as you can tell, I got my NWO
Yes,
shirt on, so
that's too sweet, dude.
Fucking absolutely. But yeah, so I mean, I have quite a few people in the wrestling business come on the show. We've had guys like Bill Alfonso from ECW, Ahmed Johnson, Kevin Kelly, to name a few, back from the ROH days
Yeah,
and whatnot, and early WWF. We had some pretty cool conversations with that. I guess I can announce this. We're working on having like a bonus episode per month that's just going to focus on wrestling.
nice.
It's going to be Bulldog Uncensored Get in the Ring.
Oh, there you go.
So
Love it.
I'm going to have a co-host, my co-host, Will Daly. He's I guess you could say still considered to be active, but he's looking to get into teaching and training people how to become wrestlers properly and professionally. So we're kind of, he's got some industry insiders and obviously first-hand experience. So we're gonna capitalize on that. And he just happened to move to my hometown, so we had him on the podcast last month, and we just really hit it off, and we're gonna see where that goes too.
Nice.
But I love talking about fringe topics, paranormal, conspiracy theory stuff, or as I like to call the real story.
Yeah.
But I like talking about aliens and philosophy and religion and debate all that kind of stuff. So you name it, we don't hold back. I don't hold back at all. I just call it like I see it. That's Bulldog Uncensored. We're on YouTube and bulldoguncensored.com.
No, that's awesome, brother, for sure. I mean, me and Angel are wrestling people. Me and Megan, my lady, we're huge wrestling people. Like we're, the one of the local to Maryland, there's the MCW company, Maryland Championship Wrestling, and they've been incredibly supportive of me and Angel and the show. And so I go to the MCW events regularly to just support and hang out, with the wrestlers and just have a great time. Babes and I are super into that. But also, since it's like it's a really great event, but with TMS being sort of the niche table in that event, Angel is always welcome, of course, to come down for any of the events that he wants to, but some of them, it's not worth necessarily spending the money to do it when, Babes and I are 3 minutes up the road to hold it down. But the point I'm making is MCW does a fan jam event, like a WrestleCon or anything like that, where, the fans can come in and have a great time and meet wrestlers and buy merch and all that kind of stuff. So, Megan and I always set up like our little vendor table with all of our TMS merch, and I'll put some stuff out for V&D, which is my horror show, and so we always try to promote the brand and the show. But the other thing that's also very cool is sometimes just anything can happen, even if you're on like an airplane. And I bring that up because one of the guests that Angel had brought on for us was Andrew Anderson, who was the bodyguard for the late Ace Frehley, and a long established wrestling wrestler with Kevin Sullivan. So that was really, really cool. Also, I'm my best friend, besides, my brother JD, but my best friend is Lizzie Borden from XPW. If you remember that promotion.
Hell yeah.
And so Lizzie's one of my nearest and dearest, and she's been on the show a couple of times with her boyfriend, with the stuff that they do, both in music as well as their clothing company and stuff. So yeah, we're definitely wrestling people as well. And the holiday, the WWE holiday tour is coming right through Baltimore. So Babes and I are planning to go and see that, because I always got to do everything I can to get Megan as close to Rhea Ripley as I can.
Yeah, you got to add that third wheel, brother.
Absolutely, man.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
No,
Although that her husband looks a little scary to me. I wouldn't want to try to have to fight him off.
no, absolutely. I would never do anything to cross Buddy whatsoever because that would like, nah, man. Like if I tried to like pick on Buddy Matthews, that would be like Bigfoot stepping on a Smurf. I would just
Yeah,
be like,
right.
nah, dude. But everything
From
I've
one
seen,
Smurf to another, I understand.
right. But no, I think Buddy's great because I mean I remember him back in WWE as Buddy
Right.
Murphy, and I'm a huge Aleister Black fan and have been
Well,
for many
obviously,
years.
yeah.
So I followed him, of course, to WWE, and that's where I really became a Buddy Matthews fan was because of the whole House of Black. And
Yeah.
I understand how the business goes. I mean, it's common knowledge that Aleister's wife, Zelina Vega, was in WWE the whole time that he was out of WWE. So, it's awesome. I don't have a way to turn my laptop around, but right above the on the wall above my computer is I have a signed Aleister Black like big poster from
Oh,
him
sick.
um, from his entrance. So it's him with his hands like kind of like crossed on his stomach,
Yeah.
where he comes up like vampire, like
I
coffin
love that. Yeah.
candles. Because like, I mean, to me, he's got like the coolest entrance in WWE right now. I mean,
Yeah.
stylistically, that's not going to shock anybody that I would really like that. But
Yeah.
like entrance wise, of course, like Babes and I both being big Rhea Ripley fans, we love the energy that her entrance brings. But also, I was a big fan of what Karrion Kross and Scarlett used to do. So if anybody's familiar with that entrance, basically what they would do is the camera would be kind of low and up pointed at Scarlett as she's kind of doing this like spoken word kind of like summoning thing to the crowd, and then all of a sudden, like you just would see Karrion just appear from behind her with this big like roar kind of thing.
He's a big son of a bitch. So it's
Yeah,
like, no matter how you see it on that TV, he's just enormous.
absolutely. And that's been one of my things lately with like Fan Jam, and probably the next event I'm planning to go to is in a few weeks because they're doing their seasons beatings show. Is
Okay.
I want to talk to Dennis, the VP, because I know they are doing a Fan Jam. They just haven't announced the dates and whatnot. But like Megan's like she really wants somebody like EO Sky to come in, and
Oh, hell yeah.
they brought in people like Shotzi and
Hmm.
Booker T and JBL. But I was like, man, since he's out on the con circuit right now and he's
Dude,
out
totally
doing
get Karrion.
I was like,
Absolutely,
dude,
man.
get me Karrion and Scarlett. I think that would be so super cool. I had talked kind of behind the scenes with them about Aleister, and apparently he just doesn't really do that kind of stuff. Everything I've always heard about him is that he's a really great guy, but I just don't think that like Fan Jam meet and greet thing outside of WWE contractual obligations, I just don't think that's really his jam. I know that
Yeah, he seems more reserved.
yeah.
Zelina's pretty good with the fans in general, but I think, you know,
I,
from what I've noticed, even like behind the scenes kind of shit, like he just seems like he keeps to himself, but he's passionate about the things he likes. So I can't knock him for that.
Same, 100%, brother. And I also think that has a lot to do as well with the fact that he he's very passionate about his like jujitsu studio. So I'm willing to bet that when he's not on the road and having to do WWE obligations, I'm sure he puts a lot of effort into his
Oh, yeah.
studio and stuff because you can definitely tell that that's the thing. But yes, absolutely. And it's funny too because when Babes was getting into Rhea, that was obviously back when like the Judgment Day was really running and gunning when it was, Rhea and Dom and Finn and Damian. And so that's kind of a funny little, husband and wife clash that we get to have right now is because Aleister's feuding with Damian. And it's been this really great feud so far. And I'm like, yeah, Aleister, go. And she just looks at me. She's like, really? You're going to do that to our guy? Like, you're going to do that to the Terror Twin and you're going to do that to Damian? I'm like, dude, babe, I love me some Damian Priest. But hey, it was an Aleister Black guy first.
Yeah, no, Damien's a good shit. I've never met either one of them, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, same. So I was like, and it's kind of a bummer too, because like when Damian was on the independent circuits as Punisher Martinez, he came to MCW and performed in MCW. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome and sucks at the same time.
Yeah, right.
I didn't make any of those shows. So I was like, oh, that's a bummer. But I'm sure
that's why I love going to indie shows anyway, is because you can run into people like that you've got some notoriety. And I mean, shit, I was in high school, I think, and I met up with Road Dogg and fucking had pizza with AJ Styles and Jay Lethal. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. And it's just shit you don't expect. But, much like any other performer, we're all regular people. And I think the more I get into this business in general, whether it's, any form of entertainment, it's like I don't get starstruck anymore because I know how it is. Like,
sure.
maybe not to that level, but the general idea is still there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the independents are great too, because I've gotten to meet AJ Styles. I've gotten to meet the Headbangers. That was a big thrill for me because I loved those guys back in the day. Of course, that style is right up all of our alley. I recently at the last fan jam that they did, it was either the last one or the one before, but they brought in Kevin Thorne, who, as a vampire guy,
obviously,
the rebirth of ECW,
I really liked him as Mordecai. I thought they had potential there and they dropped the ball, but that was very Vince back in the day anyway.
Yeah, it really was, because that was the whole purpose, was for them to bring him in as this, like, this other side of the coin to feud with the Undertaker, and they just didn't even let it happen. My thing is, look, if they didn't feel that Kevin's skill set, I personally disagree, but at the same time, I don't have enough backstage experience to say that I'm right or wrong. But if they didn't feel that he had enough experience to be able to hang with the Undertaker for that, okay, fair enough. I super get it. But at the same time, they never even let it be a possibility. It's kind of like, if you remember with
they never let the gimmick cook.
No, they didn't.
Not at all.
And I mean,
it was like vignette. Oh, there he is, and now he's gone again.
Right. And I was like, I remember Kevin from the independent circuit. I remember Seven. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's a cool fucking gimmick. It's kind of like just gothy, but just kind of dark, simplistic character, but the guy can go. I thought that was great. I was way into the Mordecai thing, and then it was gone in like 3 weeks, and I was like, shit, that sucks. But
I mean, it's tough. Like you said, you don't know what's going on backstage and what their reasoning was, and that was before the height of the internet shit. So I think, we were, as fans, were a lot more in the dark back then about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's pretty easy to find out what's really going on.
100%. And it's funny, before I kick it back up to Angel and kind of bring him in on this, is that's the one thing too. I don't know how it is for a lot of fans, but like I understand social media. I understand the internet. I understand that, like, nobody can really hide, and gimmicks are pretty much just unsafe nowadays. But I appreciate the concept behind it, but I really don't like this WWE Unreal show that they're doing on Netflix. I'm like, again, I understand social media and that so many of these wrestlers are married to people in and out of the business and have kids. I actually respect Triple H quite a bit, and Babes and I talk about this all the time, that with Triple H running the show, regardless of what people think about it overall, but the fact that a real wrestler is now in charge, I've personally really appreciated the fact that it seems like this whole 300 days on the road thing is dead, which I think is great. Do your best to let these people have their kids' birthdays or go to a graduation, celebrate their anniversary with their wives or their husbands. And I think Triple H genuinely gets it, because, again, this is, I'm acknowledging it because there's probably fans watching that are kind of thinking it. I'm like, look, suspend disbelief on this whole Triple H and Stephanie thing. I'm just saying back before that was a thing, because Triple H even addressed it on Tough Enough. If anybody remembers that original Tough Enough, when he just tore into those guys, it was like, look, 300 plus days we're on the road. You know, your wife's at home. What's she doing? You don't know. Your husband's at home. What's he doing? You don't know. Your kids are growing up without this. Your kids are missing that. But it does seem that as a guy who lived that life outside of the obvious, I like the fact that he seems to have his head on straight as allowing the talent to have lives. Like using Naomi and Jimmy as an example. Who knows if they've been planning to have a kid or if it was an accident. But the point is, they let it happen. They were cool with it. Same with Alexa Bliss. They put that out on TV where she announced it to the world, handed the title belt to Asuka for her to carry on as the champion. And then she disappeared for however long it took for her to, have her child, sign a new contract, and then ultimately return. So anyway, I really like the fact that it's wrestlers and wrestlers' lives outside of wrestling first and the business second, which I know sounds a little funny because I do think the TKO juggernaut is a little too hardcore personally, but that's a topic for another time. But when it comes to that, I really don't love this Unreal show because I'm like, that's too much behind the curtain. Again, myself, just like you, just like Angel, we grew up in like 80s wrestling, 90s wrestling. Kayfabe was a thing. Protecting your character and the integrity was a real genuine thing. Look, we understand that, like, if you're about to get married, they're going to find a way to crack your skull open on TV, so you have to be gone for 3 weeks. Like, we all understand that, at least to a certain degree, even if it didn't register right away. We understood the gig. You don't show me that much behind the curtain. I don't want to hear you guys. I don't want to watch you guys sitting at a table going through all the ins and outs of how you're going to do WrestleMania. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
My opinion on all that is this. I think people should have to take a test in order to be able to get a subscription in order to watch that. Brand new fans, stay the hell away from it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Don't even go there because it, when you've been a fan for 30 years, it's different. But if you're trying to understand it as it is and coming as a new fan, that's going to ruin it. But I think most fans nowadays, especially younger fans, like, they're fans because their parents were, and they had that exposure to it.
Yeah.
So I still think, like, it's still kind of okay because you've got that guidance of like, you don't need to worry about that just yet. Someday you'll be able to appreciate that and figure out what that's all about. But I think, it's all timing.
Nope, 100%. I mean, the major storylines and things that I remember as a kid that were kind of like blurred the lines a little bit, because again, my dad, in my opinion, always called it right. They're cartoons with real people, but I always loved it described that way. But the stuff that I remember back in the 80s when I was really, really young that I remember like fully is I remember Hulk Hogan and the Undertaker, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior as like my first like major event. I loved and respected Hulk Hogan, but I was an Ultimate Warrior guy. But I remember that. I remember Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick Martel in the blindfold match. And I remember Jake the Snake having his snake biting Randy Savage's arm and watching Elizabeth like freaking out about that. Yep. And then the other two was because the first time I ever genuinely remember not understanding and feeling, wow, that's so hardcore, and having a part of my world shatter was watching Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through Brutus the Beefcake's barbershop window. and watching this tag team that I thought was so awesome just implode. And then, of course, the debut with The Undertaker, with winning the title off of Hogan and just all that great stuff. But nah, man, wrestling is definitely awesome in every way, shape, or form, man, because it's all about the athleticism, storytelling, and just having a good time. That's why I've always loved the fact that my dad always called it cartoons with real people.
Well, and I think, for a lot of people that have a love for it, wrestling imitates life in a lot of ways. Like I've
Yeah.
had people in my life fucking take a heel turn on me and fucking, that's a real thing. Like that shit actually happens.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned more about life from wrestling than almost anything else.
For sure. No, definitely, man. Angel, let's bring you back in there, my good sir. Also, just to let you guys know, Metal Summoners, we appreciate you guys. Josh has been absolutely glorious with his time this evening, but we are going to want to, of course, respect his schedule and not eat up all of his evening. It is going to be last call for alcohol. If any of you Metal Summoners do have anything that you want to ask him about everything that's going on with Speed Demon, Dead Man's Trigger, or wrestling, since we got into that topic, by all means, anything that you want to ask him, pump it into the comments so that way myself or Angel see it and we can make sure to get any of your questions answered, or he can give his opinion to any comments that you guys put in. But it is going to be last call for alcohol. We're going to rock out with him for a little bit longer, but of course, do want to respect his schedule as well. So a heads up to you guys on that one. Angel, my good man, it's right back to you.
Man, I took a trip down memory lane hearing you guys talk about wrestling. The thing is, I mean, wrestling and 80s hair metal, they were practically the same, where the characters were larger than life. We did not, it wasn't until grunge came along that suddenly they were not rock stars anymore. We want to be normal. We're your next door neighbors. And I'm like, fuck you. When I think about Stephen Piercy, I think about getting laid in a fucking mansion. When I think about Motley Crue, I don't picture Motley Crue as normal guys next door. And I think that's what I loved about wrestling and rock and roll back then, was that these guys, to us, were larger than life characters. Mm-hmm. But I think it was one interview with somebody from Hootie and the Blowfish that was like, we don't want to be rock stars. We just want to be four normal guys. And I'm like, that's nice. Get the fuck off the stage.
Yeah, you see that a lot in metal these days. It's just, guys that walk in and they're sitting on a bar stool and you think they're just there to see the show. And then they get on stage and, play a killer set. No disrespect to that idea, but I definitely agree with you, man. There's something left to be desired when you don't have that star power in any band nowadays. Quite like that.
But I mean, I just love the mystique. Like I will never forget when Soundgarden came out with Spoon Man. I didn't realize it, but they practically put out a video where you didn't see them. It was just kind of like pictures of the band and the Spoon Man guy performing. So back then, like, you were allowed to disappear and just focus on music. Which brings me to my question: Do you feel as a musician the need to be on social media every day? Like I said, promoting or just kind of posting anything.
I mean, in general, it's kind of a necessary evil. Especially like I said, when you don't have a big label like Nuclear Blast or Century Media to be a little throwback. Things like that, and even Metal Blade and shit like that. Like, we're all doing what we can do and learning on the job, essentially, to make all these things happen without that kind of support. And I'm most impressed by the bands that are doing just that, and saying, okay, well, it's not going to get done by itself, but we don't have that backing, so we got to figure out a way to make it work. And there's a lot of bands coming up right now. Um, Shout out to my friends in Anaria, the New Hampshire band. They just got on Jared Dines' TikTok. Uh, Jessica was doing a collab with him or one of the contests he was writing on. And you know, he's big in the metal world nowadays as a solo artist. But it's nice to see these DIY bands really kicking ass and breaking in and not having to worry about the politics and the overhead BS of some labels. Not that they're not, most of them are good, but you know, you always run into the money grabs and things like that that don't, they oversell or underperform and things like that. So it's nice to see the underdog from the underground really, you know, making a go of it. And another band I can mention, Death Rattle, that we're opening for on Friday. Those guys originally, when I was in Fuel War earlier in the 2000s, like those guys started opening up for me, and now they're playing Europe and Japan, and shit like that. And they're pretty much just a straight metal, like modern metal outfit. And it's nice to see the guys and your peers make it. Whereas I think back in the day, it was more of a competition.
Yeah.
Now we're all trying to help each other up and shit talk, and because it doesn't accomplish anything.
I think that actually speaks a little bit too to like modern like metal, like you said as well, because modern day metal nowadays, I think is starting to get a little bit more understanding on almost also a similar plane. I compare it a lot to skateboarders. If anybody ever used to watch skateboarders perform as like in like a demo setting or even at their competitions, you don't want to see a guy trying to do a trick on a vert ramp and then bust his ass. You know, you want to see him kill it. You want to see him do these
Yeah.
amazing runs and these great tricks and stuff. And I feel like metal nowadays is a lot more like a comparison to like skateboardings where you want to see your peers just kill it, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like you were saying, where back in the day it was like, well, we want everybody to do well, but we want
Uh,
us to succeed. So kind of fuck them, but like at the
yeah.
same
Yeah. Exactly.
time, let me be like, yeah, you know, those fist bump. Those were my guys. Those are my guys. Yeah, I got you. But as opposed, it's like, you know, one of those things where nowadays it's more like, you know, yes, like let's do this, like, you
Yeah.
know, kind of a thing. So I definitely think it's a little bit more of a fraternity nowadays, where it was a little bit more like feuding type stuff back then. But
Yeah. And
yes,
I mean, yeah, there's some gatekeeping, but as far as the quote unquote unsigned or indie label scene, um, you know, we're all pretty supportive, and yeah, there's some bands that do controversial shit, and you know, might get a little flack for it, but I think anybody that gets heat in the music business locally is just, it's because they're doing something right,
yeah,
and they're doing something that's getting attention, positive or negative, and regardless, eyeballs and numbers nowadays, that's where it comes down to from a business standpoint.
yeah. But I also think
Maybe
that
not
has
the music, but everything else.
But I think that also shows too that the relationships nowadays are so much stronger because you see band members jumping into other bands,
Right.
and not even necessarily to like take somebody's place or leave their band in the dust in order to join this band. Yeah, at times maybe that has to happen for certain reasons that are between, you know, them and their God kind of a thing. But other than that, there's so much more willingness to like help out like your bro in need kind of thing. Like shit, our bass player came down sick or their wife just went into labor, so they're not going to be able to make the tour for 2 weeks, and maybe it's a 6-week tour. Well, it's like, okay, no biggie, let me call my bros, and see if they're but just as the old saying was back when we were all kids, like, hey, let me check my Rolodex,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like, who can I bring in to kind of hold it down so that we don't have to cancel the tour and we don't have to lose out on the money, but the band
And
can still stay
Shadows Fall
successful.
is a perfect example of a band that has done that in their latter years.
Mhm.
Um, especially when Sean was doing Anthrax and stuff like that. Like Brian and the guys got a bunch of local guys that they had been played with, but never really made it to that level.
Mhm.
And they got the exposure and they were able to do the tour and it's changed people's lives.
Yeah.
Same
No.
thing with Mudvayne.
Mhm.
Marcus has become a good friend of mine. Um, and he's done tremendous filling in for Greg and all the stuff he's going through.
Yeah. That's
And
that's a
it's a
crazy
brutal
that's a crazy
situation, but
That's an unfortunate
yeah,
situation. So shout out to Greg Tippett and Mudvayne and for
much
everything that
love,
he's
brother.
going through. Much love, absolutely, because that's we're not going to get into it on this particular episode. One, because we don't have the time, and two, it's not our place just in this particular moment. But it's out there for Metal Summoner, so go ahead and check it out. Greg's going through some shit right now, but he's got so much love in this metal community for sure. But I kind of jumped in on this segment, so Angel, let me kick it back up to you there, my friend.
No, no problem. We go with the flow. It's rock and roll. There's no rules and all that stuff. Um, when it comes to like TikTok, in your opinion, perspective as a musician, how has TikTok become an important avenue to promote music?
I mean, I think it's invaluable at this point, especially with how people in general consume their media. Uh, I think if I had TikTok 15, 20 years ago, I think things might have developed a little sooner in my career because it was the physical limitations of not getting out into the world and only being stuck in my demographic in my particular region. But now, with a click of a button, I'm getting responses from Sweden and Texas and East Bumshoot, and it doesn't, it's something I never would have been able to do.
Hey,
So it's a great opportunity, I think, for anybody and anyone that doesn't utilize those kind of platforms is just doing themselves a disservice.
again, I don't have TikTok, so what is it like 1 minute or 2 minutes?
I think they actually increased the length. I just put our entire music video on there. I've been pumping it on the story rather than posting it. Um, but yeah, I think you can have up to an hour now, if you have enough followers or what have you.
Yeah, it's like different length stuff. Like
Yeah,
the videos that I tend to do, I think you can do it in like three levels. I think it's like 1 minute videos, 3 minutes videos, and like 10 minute videos if you're like able, if you're like
right.
allowed to do the 10 minute. But
Yeah.
my video, I've done a couple of like 3 minute videos, usually when I'm doing like a horror tour, since I've got so much like crazy kookiness in my
Yeah.
house to like, so every now and then just for my own kind of creative freedom, not for like showboating or clicks or anything. I mean, people watch if they want to, but like I got a lot of kooky fun music and horror memorabilia, and sometimes it's just kind of funny to talk. It's fun
Oh,
to
yeah.
sometimes it's just kind of fun to talk about it. So
Yep.
like I've done a couple 3 minute videos, but like for example, when I do videos for like TMS, I'm always like, hey, what's up, Metal Summoners? Hope you guys are doing great. Hey, check out tonight's episode. This is who we've got going. This is who's going to be on. I actually need to get back on it because I really got like lazy for like a while when it came to them because like
Well, that's the other thing as a musician, you've got so many different platforms, and to keep up with all of them, I mean, it's a difficult challenge, even with AI. Like, it's a hard time to incorporate that. You got to have some kind of system, and with me, I just do the best I can because I've got the most time in the band. So I fire everything off as often as I can without living on it. But that's, again, it's just part of the course.
Absolutely, for sure. Shout out to Bobby Dreyer, who's popping in, showing us some love. What's up, brother? He's a former TMS host, and we love you, dude. I was in Doylestown not that long ago, either, too, brother. So I was right up in your neck of the woods there, and right up to you, Angel, as we go around the table one more time.
Bobby, I got a vote to pick with you. You like
Uh-oh.
Jay on videos, but you never mentioned mine. Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
there it is. Right on cue, Angel. Boom.
Those aren't bad either. Okay.
You're like,
See, if I didn't get married, then I might have gotten into that business, but that's a whole thing for another time. OnlyFans, where were you 12, 13 years ago?
yeah, I know, right? I never thought about that. Hey, Jay.
I don't know. But hey, you know what? It all's well that ends well, and it's certainly going well for me, so I can't complain.
It's always important to know whether you're coming or going.
Indeed.
Thanks for
That's
reminding
why they
me.
made it 2 colors.
There you go. And 2 spellings.
Yeah, that too.
Hey, Bobby, there's a porn convention coming to DC this weekend, Exotica. If
He's
you
got
want
all the info you wouldn't possibly need.
We have derailed, but that's just the thing we love about the show. Just like you said, it's all about metal, and it's all about the love.
Yep. And honestly, that's what metal people are about. That, like Adam, I love him to death. My singer, he is the most ADD individual I know, and we get on some of the craziest, wackiest conversations, and sometimes you gotta rein him in, like, oh, we gotta play this fucking song. Come on now. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all just kind of closet nerds or outright open with it or what have you. It just kind of goes along with the heavy metal shit.
100%, man, for sure. Angel, as Bobby's pumping him in on us, is there anything final from yourself, my friend?
that ain't sound right. Bobby is stop pumping it in on us.
I don't know, man. Tomato.
Sorry, come again?
Exactly.
See, Bobby, look how you did. You turned an innocent rock show into porn.
Innocent with an asterisk.
I would do a porn video. I would say, fuck.
Exactly.
On a good day.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you having me on.
Always.
It's always a blast to shoot the shit.
Hell yeah.
Guys, definitely check out 7 Rivers of Blood. We're on YouTube, Dead Man's Trigger, Facebook, all that happy horse shit. You know where to find us.
Absolutely, man. And since and Josh, before we let you go officially, man, also since it is the holiday season and Christmas is coming up on us really quick, people like to go shopping. Where can Dead Man's Trigger and Bulldog Uncensored and Speed Demon merch be found?
Well, I will send that link to you to post on the website there, bud. Speed Demon has a shop zone through Printify, and that covers every brand I run. So whether it's Dead Man's Trigger, Bulldog Uncensored, everything you could possibly think, buy me some stuff because I got bills to pay.
Absolutely. Josh, it's always a pleasure, my friend. You never have to be a stranger, and you never are.
No,
we appreciate everything that you do, man. We're definitely looking forward to hooking up in the near future, as well as having you on anytime that you want, man. So shout out, of course, to yourself for your courtesies, Curtain Call Records, and of course, everything that Dead Man Trigger is doing. We really, really appreciate you.
Well, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next shot.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Metal Summoners, thank you guys so much. Please make sure that you're following Dead Man's Trigger on all of their socials and doing some shopping right on the Shopify and everything that Josh was just talking about. And we'll post that link as well. But that link can also be seen on the Dead Man's Trigger Facebook pages, as well as through Josh and his wife's personal pages as well. So you can definitely look it up that way, but Angel and I will post that as well. For Angel, you can find him at Angel Alamo 78 on Instagram. You can also find him on Facebook. Myself, I can be found on Instagram at salem.vampire. I can also be found under that same moniker on Facebook, and I have a personal page as well. But please make sure that you guys are following the Metal Summit on Facebook and YouTube, because that's where the interviews take place. That's where you're watching Josh right now with everything that we talked about, from everything involving Dead Man's Trigger, everything involving Speed Demon, as well as Bulldog, and all of the great wrestling conversation that we just had as well. But of course, if you like there we go. And then, of course, if there's if you guys really enjoy what Angel and I are doing and you want to know about what we've got going on as quick as we get it up, Instagram is an important page to follow, because all of our announcements tend to come out there first and then filter their way down to the other pages. So we really appreciate you guys when it comes to all of that. If anybody's interested in Metal Summit merch, we do have t-shirts. I do have limited sizes, but I have small, medium, large, and 2X. Message me directly and I can get you all set up if you want to rock a little bit of Metal Summit action for the holiday seasons, as well as onwards and upwards. But that will continue on as well with another day and another time. We will put out the guest announcement over the weekend. A little hint out to you guys that are watching us right now. Angel and I are got a double feature for you next Wednesday, but that's all you get right now while we are finalizing and confirming everything for next Wednesday's episode. But again, on behalf of Josh and Dead Man's Trigger and Angel and myself, we appreciate you guys so much. Be good. Have yourselves a great rest of your week and have yourselves an absolute killer weekend. And we will see you guys in a week for a brand new episode. Take care, be good to each other, and keep listening to metal. As always, you guys have been watching the Metal Summit.